Wembanyama.
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama. That's this kid. And Scooter Henderson, is that the other kid?
Scoot Henderson, yeah.
Scoot. So it's not Scooter, it's just Scoot?
No, if you ask my partner Drew Schiller, it's Scooty, but it's Scoot.
Scoot Henderson.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to talk much about them, but they're the future of the NBA if they stay healthy, especially Wembanyama. But we're not going to just talk about that. The Golden State Warriors are just around the corner. Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, joins me. I always love his expertise, particularly for the up-and-coming players and just the Warriors in general. We're going to break it all down next. It's going to be fun as usual. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. So is Kevin Danna. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. You are out in Henderson, Nevada. You're calling these games. I can't remember if I've ever been excited or even interested about a preseason G League team playing a French national team. Yet there I was last night watching the entirety of that game on ESPN2. They're playing again Thursday. You just enlightened me of that before we started recording. Well, how is it going out there, man? And describe the experience of one of the most fascinating things in basketball in recent history, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I didn't do Tuesday's game. I'll be doing Thursday's game, noon on ESPN2. But it was, I saw Kevin O'Connor tweet this out. This was kind of like a where were you when kind of game. I mean, I'm sitting next to veteran reporters, like college basketball reporters, been doing it, for a couple of decades. I'm not going to say their names because, I want to kind of keep their, what's the word that I'm looking for? Kind of privacy for now. I'm not sure they would be worried if I said this or not, but go along with me here. Then another NBA reporter who's been doing it for decades as well. These are serious reporters. Every time Victor Wembanyama makes a play, they're touching each other like little school children. Oh, did you see that? Giggling. It was one of those kind of things. Just hadn't seen anything like this before with Victor Wembanyama. I mean, the guy is 7'5", according to some people, with an 8-foot wingspan. And he went 7 of 11 from three and had 5 blocks. I mean, I watched one of his games earlier this year in the BetClick Elite League, formerly the Jeep Elite League, France Pro A. They changed sponsorship this year, I guess. But I saw him block somebody on his third jump, a couple of pump fakes, bid on both, and then third. But his reaction time is pretty incredible for a guy of his stature. Last night was unreal. There was a lot of hype going in that game, and somehow exceeded the hype because both number one and number two, Wembanyama and Scoot, just performed out of their minds.
Yeah, I think you still need some work on understanding what the people want with the podcast. I want names, man. Who are some of these people that were going giddy? You just don't want to drop names?
I was sitting around quite a few guys, but everyone that I was around was just oh my God, these guys are just incredible. Everyone's turning to each other. I'm sitting next to a writer from Sports Illustrated, a couple of ESPN people, and it's just, I mean, these are hardened reporters, right? They're no cheering in the press box, as they say, but people couldn't help themselves. They were oohing and on with the crowd as a result.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk. First of all, there's a clear reason why I love Danny Ainge as a GM. First of all, I love GMs that are just active, that see the writing on the wall. If something's not working, they don't just sit there and wait, 2 years after everyone else realizes this player is not going to work out, this team's not going to work out. He just makes moves. I love it. And clearly, his fire sale this offseason had this in mind, these two players, right? Yeah. The Oklahoma City Thunder come to mind. The San Antonio Spurs come to mind. and Wembanyama, again, that's a name that I'm going to have to work on for a little bit. It does not roll off the tongue. I heard someone compare him to Ralph Sampson, which actually and then I heard that comparison, and then I watched him play, and I was like, I see that a little bit. I don't remember Ralph shooting that good from three.
Yeah.
I've heard he's listed as 7'2". I heard the broadcasters last night call him 7'4". You're saying 7'5". What are your impressions of this kid, man? Like when he's in the NBA a year from now, I mean, he's a consensus number 1 pick, clearly. And the Scoot Henderson consensus number 2 pick would have been number 2 in a lot of number 1 in a lot of other drafts. Yeah. What is your personal opinion of Wembanyama? Like, how do you think he's going to fare in the NBA? Does he compare to anyone? Well, what's your analysis?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the concern is his frame, right? Like, you know, we just saw Chet Holmgren suffer an injury. He's out for the year, like playing summer league, or not summer league, but, you know, one of those summer pro-ams. That's the big concern. But I mean, this is a guy who, you know, first or second possession of the game, walks the ball up, walks his guy down into the post, and like just beautiful toe touch, like just runs one in off the glass.
Right.
He hit 7 threes. Like he did this one thing where he caught it maybe elbow or something like that, and then just like one step and then tried to jam on someone. I can't remember if there was dribble in there or not, but it was like one of those things you're like, humans aren't supposed to do this. It's like, you know, what was the first human? Homo habilis, then it was Homo erectus, then Homo sapien, and then it's Victor Wembanyama, right? Like, he's an evolutionary human being.
That was like 25 years ago I took anthropology, Kev, but continue.
Yeah, no, it's just like you look at this guy and you're like, we as a species aren't supposed to be able to do the things he can do. And we've seen – so, yeah, the exact height, like apparently he was 7'4" barefoot, and then I saw someone say 7'5".
Why is he listed as 7'2" then officially? Like, what's that all about?
I think that was his height last year, right? Like he grew. He's 18 years old. So, yeah, he could have very easily been 7'2" last year. And that's one of the like I forget exactly what the roster sheet said yesterday. But like the reason there are so many different heights for this guy is because he's still like a teenager. He's still
so growing. You're saying he's like an X-Man. You're saying like he's like the next step in human evolution is what you're alluding to. He's not. I want to add like he doesn't. To me, Chet Holmgren is very different. Like Chet Holmgren is a stick man, dude. Like I look at Chet Holmgren and I think I could just blow on you and you'll float away into the wind. When I see like Wembanyama, I see like he's got some meat on him. And the crazy thing is that at 18, he's gonna get thicker. Is durability, I feel like, is the biggest concern. I saw him like he took a 3 and actually it was a really dirty play. I don't know if you saw that. Like the defender put his foot under him and he almost rolled his ankle for a brief moment there, but he was okay. Like, that was sketchy, man. And I'm sorry for the Warriors fans for dedicating a whole first segment to these two kids, but this could be the future. I mean, this is like 5 years from now, these two kids could be just owning the NBA, with the exception of James Wiseman and Kuminga and Moody, of course.
Of course.
But yeah. I mean, it's crazy, dude. So you think Wembanyama is going to be like a megastar, and same with Scoot Henderson?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have the potential to be megastars, definitely. With the durability question, that is a question, right? Like he played 33 of 79 games available last year for Asvel in France, which is France's like pro team. So he missed a lot of time. He moved to this new team in France because they're only playing once a week. He thought it was, doctors tell him it's better for him to rest, and that totally makes sense. Like you don't want to overdo it when there are millions upon millions of dollars on the line. So I totally get why he wants to, make this move to this team that doesn't play like the Euro Cup or Basketball Champions League or Euro League like an Asvel would be in like that kind of other European competition. Mets 92 isn't. It also allowed them to do this showcase. And, props to, I think, Wembanyama and Mets 92 for agreeing to this, right? Like, I don't know how much he had to gain by doing this as the clear number one. I think, Scoot had more to gain from this game because he wants to be the number one pick. He has gone on record saying that. But, I mean, Wembanyama, like, the guy, he's so calm, cool, collected out there. And, he wants to win. Scoot wants to. I mean, those guys, don't tell those guys it was just an exhibition game yesterday.
Well, it clearly wasn't. I want to finish this segment with this question. If you were an NBA GM, and right off the bat, I'll tell you this, Kev. If you really were an NBA GM, you'd be smarter than, I'd say, 80% of the other GMs, 70 to 80%, just from me knowing you. I guarantee you are smarter than 70 to 80% of the other NBA GMs out there. With that said, if you were an NBA GM and you had the number 1 pick in the draft, I know Wembanyama is the consensus number 1, but Scoot Henderson is a baller, man. I mean, I don't want to like sleep on him, and he performed last night. I was blown away, in all honesty. Who would you pick number 1? I mean, on a pragmatic level, because that is a concern. Durability is a huge concern. Who would you go with?
Yeah, well, let me correct you, Cyrus. I'm smarter than 0% of NBA GMs.
Disagree. Agree to disagree.
All right. Agree to disagree. But I am not that smart. I would almost want the number 2 pick in this draft. I wouldn't want to be the guy to pass up on Victor Wembanyama. I'm still taking Victor.
I like it.
You can't not take Victor Wembanyama because you can't forecast injuries on anyone just because, his body type usually gets injured. Like, he's a different human being. Doesn't mean that he is going to suffer the injuries we project on him.
Yes, sir. That is the best answer I think you could have. That is why I respect your intelligence, dude, because you're right. In hindsight, the moment you said that, I'm like, I wouldn't want the number 1 pick, because that could easily become a Gary Oden situation, or Greg Oden. I'm sorry. No disrespect, but I mean, look, it could be. I think the odds of that happening to Scoot are so much lower. If you have the number 1 pick, you don't have to worry about that dilemma. I follow, man.
Yeah, I still want the number 1 pick. I'm just saying, if I got the number 2 pick, I wouldn't be that upset, because Scoot is, he's more than a consolation prize. And I mean, for the teams that are going to be woeful for Wembanyama or horrid for Henderson this year, they got like a 28% chance of getting one of those 2 guys. So,
hell yeah.
I mean, if you're going to finish with the worst record in the league, or I forget exactly how the percentage, but something like that. So,
right.
Man,
I don't have the percentages memorized either. It's okay. But I follow what you're saying. It's crazy. So basically, like the incentive to tank this year is going to be so much higher, because you're right. The percentages like aren't great if you're vying for the number 1, but if you're vying for 1 or 2, now like there's your odds are pretty decent that if you're tanking hard, you can nail one of those 2 spots, and it looks like you're going to win either way. So kudos to Danny Ainge. Kudos to R.C. Buford. Is that his name? The GM of the Spurs.
Yeah.
For trading DeJounte Murray. It makes sense now. I get all of it. So good luck with them for this season. And we'll talk about the Warriors in just a moment. First, I got to give some love to they're a longtime sponsor. I haven't given them love in a little while. They got one of these cute overlays if you're watching on YouTube, PrizePicks. I want to say this. And Kevin, I know ethically, legally, you're not allowed to bet on games because you're a play-by-play announcer for the Santa Cruz Warriors. You have inside information. It would be akin to stock trading with inside information. But is PrizePicks part of that? Are you allowed? It's legal in California.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an ethical problem with gambling. I just can't. Trust me, I do. That's why I play cards. But like, I just can't bet on sports. So there's no ethical issue on my part.
I respect your honesty so much. Well, PrizePicks, regardless, you should look into it, because there is a possibility maybe legally you can. And if you're in California, or I think pretty much anywhere in the country, every state's different, but PrizePicks is legal. I created an account. It is easily my favorite thing to play with. That sounded awful, but you know what I'm saying. It's fun. It's pure fun, man. And the way it works is you're betting on over-unders of individual accolades. For example, Stephen Curry might have an over-under of 27 points. Draymond Green might have an over-under of 6.5 assists. So all you got to do is bet a minimum of 2 of these over-unders. You could bet as much as you want. I mean, you could increase the number of different things you pick, so you can win more money. And that's it. So you pick 2 to 5 players, and all they got to do is score more or less than the prize pick projection. You're not competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections. It's just over-unders, man. And I'm telling you, once the regular season starts, I'm going to play along. I'm going to try to win people money. I'm sorry for the people that bet on the Rams on Monday night. I do apologize for that. I lost a lot too, if it makes anyone feel better. And it can be on any sport. You can make entries in 60 seconds or less. And the safe and fast withdrawals are the best part, right? That is one of the most annoying things about sports gambling is you can easily deposit the money, but if you win and you want to get the money back, it's a pain in the ass. Not so with PrizePicks. It's safe and it's fast, operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app. They got an app. Or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. So again, use the promo code Locked On, and they'll match your deposit up to $100. And if you deposit 100, they'll give you 100. If you deposit 50, they'll give you 50. Don't forget to enter that promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Make sure you check out the Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview starting October 10th, a 6-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NBA season. The local team experts and the NBA insiders of the Locked On Podcast Network and Odyssey all combining into one ultimate NBA preview starting October 10th. Search for Ultimate Pro Basketball Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And I was a part of that, by the way. I was part of the panel of the contending teams, and it was fun, man. There was some feisty debates going on there. I had some strong disagreements with some of my fellow Locked On hosts in regard to who title contenders are, the Warriors and so forth. So when that comes out, take a listen. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. So let's talk about the Warriors, man. They made some raw. I guess have we talked about Patrick Baldwin Jr. yet since the two games in Japan? Have we talked about that?
No, I mean this is my first time talking with you since the 2 games in Tokyo.
Perfect. Let's get into that, man. Patrick Baldwin Jr. First game was solid. I mean, not spectacular, but solid. Second game, insanely impressive for a kid 1 year removed from high school, a kid who did not have a great freshman year in college. He went 4 for 5 from 3. In the first game, I saw him playing in the post, making fadeaway jumpers. I saw him playing stout defense, getting blocked shots and rebounds. So far, so insanely good. Your thoughts on Patrick Baldwin Jr., a.k.a. Peanut Butter and Jelly?
The PBJ, man. Yeah, I mean, you look at the 4 for 5 and 3, and he had like a big 3 in the fourth quarter too of that second game. Part of that, comeback effort to go 2-0 in Japan against the Washington Wizards. I mean, you go back and watch his Milwaukee tape, and I mean the shot was fluid even though it wasn't going in, and so that was never really a concern for me. It was kind of like a pleasant little surprise that he could do this soon in his preseason career. Now, does that mean he's going to get minutes this year in the regular season, like consistent minutes? Nah, like as far as I know, players 1 through 11 on Golden State didn't get any worse in Japan. So, I still expect him to be with these guys right here for a good chunk of the season. And I'm pointing to my Santa Cruz Warriors polo for those of you who are listening instead of watching on YouTube. I mean, honestly, I didn't get a chance to watch all of both games. This is my fall sports season before like G League and NBA really gets rolling. So I don't have like a game by game, minute by minute kind of breakdown of what I thought of PBJ.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I know. My bad. I mean, it is definitely great to see that he could be that efficient from 3 and, his first kind of NBA setting, preseason games in Japan and hit like meaningful threes, air quotes, in a fourth quarter of a game in which, it's still in the balance.
Yep. Incredible. I'm excited so far. Excuse me. What were your thoughts on the Warriors deciding to waive McClung? They also decided to let go of I already forgot his name, the Purdue kid.
Trevion Williams.
Thank you, Trevion. I don't know why, for some reason, that is not sticking with me. And then they added this kid Lamb, who I never heard of. And I'm already forgetting the name of the other point guard they brought in. Is it
Ty Jerome?
Ty Jerome. Thank you. I'm brain farting there. I spent so much time with Wembanyama that I forgot the other Warriors youngsters. What are your thoughts on those transactions, man? I mean, I know you were high on McClung. Can he play for Santa Cruz still? Is that now no longer an option? What are your thoughts on these recent transactions?
Yeah, so with McClung, it's interesting because I think Santa Cruz would love to have McClung, but they don't have his rights. And so if they want him, they have to trade. They have to make a trade with the South Bay Lakers, who hold his G League rights. That, like, where there's a will, there's a way with G League trades for the most part. Now, I think they tried to trade for GP2's G League rights last year, and South Bay didn't budge. You'll have to double check me on that, or like that's actually not something that's double checkable, really. But hopefully, I'm not speaking out of turn there. But I figure, hey, 12 months has passed the statute of limitations on that one. But like, so if South Bay, it's a couple different things. A, can they get his rights? B, does McClung want to play in the G League?
Right.
I mean, he dominated the G League last year. He was G League Rookie of the Year. He killed Santa Cruz in a couple of different games. Does he want to go overseas? Yeah, I think is kind of the question he has to deal with. If he wants to play, or can another NBA team? Does another NBA team want him? They still got a week and a half, 2 weeks left of training camp before the NBA regular season starts. So he could still, probably what I think is going to happen is we're going to wait and see a few days and see, he's going to try to test the NBA waters. His agent's going to be like, hey, Spurs or Jazz or Cavs, pick any random NBA team. You interested in this guy for a two-way contract? Because I definitely think he's a two-way contract player. If he can get a two-way contract, he's going to snatch that up. It's obviously not going to come from Golden State now.
Right.
Then if he's not able to get that, then maybe he starts to think long and hard about the G League. And I think I would suspect that would be kind of the move he makes because European leagues are going right now. And then maybe he gets off to a good start. If he doesn't feel like he's getting an NBA call-ups coming his way, then he would jump overseas. That could be a possibility as well. So it's kind of a period of flux right now for McClung, I would say.
Right. And then what about Ty? I mean, Kerr was quoted as saying that the reason why they decided to move on from Mac is they wanted more of a pass-first player. Jerome is 6'6", so he's a big boy, former first-round pick. Kerr sees him as more of a pass-first point guard. What are your thoughts on Kerr's comments about Jerome, and what do you think about him as a fit for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, he was playing for a couple of Thunder teams where if he didn't play, who was going to play just because of kind of their roster construction. This guy was the number 24 pick in the draft. He won a national title at Virginia.
Right.
So I'm sure that helped boost his stock because he came into the NBA off that national championship. But yeah, man, I mean, why not? I want to say, this would take some digging, but I want to say his first ever G League game was against the Santa Cruz Warriors. I might be confusing that with Ty Ulis, but yeah, he played a little bit in the G League on assignment over his first couple of seasons. Spent a little time in the G League bubble. I mean, I like it. It makes sense. McClung is awesome, but does Golden State need that more than what Ty Jerome can give them?
Right.
And so I think that's I think it was very fairly put by Steve Kerr. So and Ty Jerome's another guy, if he doesn't make Golden State, if he wants to play in the G League, I'm pretty sure his G League rights are for the taking. Be a monster of a G League player to have in Santa Cruz.
Absolutely, yeah. And then what about a lot of fans were sad to see Trevion Williams waived. And I liked him too. I think he actually played great again. But there's also I've seen some reports that unlike McClung, Trevion Williams likely will play for Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Do you think that too? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this moment I saw him sign with Golden State, I'm like, oh, he's going to be great for Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I don't want to doubt a guy or anything like that, but just given who was on Golden State's roster, the contracts that they had already had signed, like this screamed like an Exhibit 10 signing, aka he's going to the G League like as soon as it happened.
Yeah, could you elaborate on that real quick? What is an Exhibit 10 signing? What does that mean? I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, so basically it's a training camp contract.
Okay.
They can convert you to a two-way, put you on the full roster, but most likely you're going to the G League. And if you spend, I think it's 60 days with the G League team, you get a $50,000 bonus.
Oh.
So basically, like I think the max salary is $37,000 now in the G League unless they raised it again. So basically, instead of like your pitch to a guy is, we can pay you $87,000 to play in the G League this year. And for a guy first year out of college, like, I don't know about you, I didn't make $87,000 my first year out of college. So,
Nope.
And probably his value is like a little higher. It'd probably actually be around that in Europe. I don't quite know exactly what first year European league players get if they're not already a part of like the youth system over there. So, like, I don't exactly know what he would have gotten had he, decided to play in a top level in Europe. But like, hey, $87,000 first year with a chance to make a little more with a 10-day or a two-way somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid deal. So, I love Trevion Williams for the G League. I was stoked when they got him. I mean, the passing ability this guy has, just alone, just the ball skills, like really, really impressive.
Agreed. Do you think the Warriors are going to add a 15th roster spot, or do you think it's going to be they're going to stay with 14 and then have Quindary? And then I guess the other question, two-part question, will they add a 15th player? And who do you think that second two-way deal is going to go to ultimately? I know Lester Quinones right now has that second two-way, but I don't see that being like a set thing. I don't know. Your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, I mean, I thought Lester's biggest competitor to that two-way was McClung. I mean, just from the outside looking in. And so that competition's no longer there. I would expect it for Lester to hold on to it. And I think kind of like similar to last year, unless someone blows their mind, they're going to keep that 15th spot open. Last year, GP2 blew everyone's mind. And so he got that roster, and obviously it was very much worth it for everyone involved. So, like, unless someone in these last, couple of preseason games, and really it did come down to the last preseason game for GP2, right? Like, they actually waived him last year.
Correct.
Like, at the end of training camp, and he stayed around. He was like thinking of working in the video department for Golden State just to hang around. And like, then, they brought him back after a few days. Like, people want to talk about, the Warriors and like how they get all these, great players and it's not fair to everyone. Well, hey, anybody else in the NBA could have claimed that dude for 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And no one did. So, it's not all like, Andrew Wiggins was thought to, I mean, not that he was a bust, but like people like, oh, the book's written on Andrew Wiggins. Like, that's a tangent for another day. But, so I expect, unless someone really comes through in these last couple of preseason games, I imagine just for luxury tax purposes, it would be 14 plus the two-ways.
There you go. I'll end on this note. Rudy Gay. I don't know if he's still in the NBA or not. I'm actually looking that up right now. I think technically he's with the Utah Jazz, but I haven't seen him in uniform. I haven't heard him announce a retirement. So I don't know what's going on with him. But the reason why I bring him up is because, like everyone these days, he has a podcast. And on his podcast, he said that he thinks that this Warriors team is the modern version of The Last Dance. He thinks Draymond Green could leave after this year. He thinks that with Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, one of the two might be gone. That the Dynasty might be over this year because of this. kind of strong words. What are your thoughts on that opinion, which I think is going to start trending a little bit? That's why I bring it up now. Yeah, what are your thoughts on those comments?
Yeah, I mean, without hearing kind of exactly what he said, I mean, it's a fair thought to have. Like the Warriors, they're staring at a massive luxury tax bill, like which it's already like beyond massive. Like decisions are going to have to be made somehow, some way. Someone's going to have to take a cut for all this to work, or some multiple ones. So like, yeah, I mean, I don't like. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
what I mean, whatever. They've gotten 4 titles in 8 years. They're well positioned for a 5th in 9 years. Like, I mean, I don't think like this is the end of them being competitive at all. Like considering the young guys that they have in the system, and like Steph's not going anywhere, and
right.
Steph Curry,
Clay's not going anywhere.
You're gonna be fine. So, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like the 1999 Bulls scored 49 points in a game, like an NBA record low. I think they went like 13 and 37, but literally lost 82-49 to the Miami Heat in a game. Like the Golden State Warriors, they are not going to be the 23-24 Golden State Warriors are not going to be the 1999 Chicago Bulls. I'll put it like that. Like they'll be far from that.
And I really do believe, I mean, that there is a possibility Draymond Green will not opt out of his contract after this year. Excuse me. He might actually just exercise that player option and take the $25 million and then play it out after that. The Warriors also could easily just offer him a new deal that might not be the max. I think it's furthest from the last dance. Not to mention, there's a very strong possibility that next year the NBA is going to have a new CBA with the players, and draft picks might not be penalized anymore in the luxury tax. And if that happens, the Warriors are stoked. If that happens, there is no last dance. I don't see any impediment to the Warriors keeping the players that they don't want to lose, Wiggins included, just because there'll no longer be a luxury tax penalty on Draymond, on Jordan Poole, Wiseman. That's a decision they're going to have to face soon. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it, but have fun in Henderson, Nevada. You're calling the Thursday night game for who? Like for ESPN too? I mean,
it's on ESPN too. The NBA hooked it up for me. So thank you.
Wait, you are the play-by-play announcer for Thursday night's game on ESPN2?
Thursday afternoon's game. It's a nooner. Yeah, Corey Alexander and myself. So yeah, I'll be doing play-by-play. Corey on color analysis. So yeah,
I haven't heard nooner. Like we used to say that when someone was shooting free throws or it's a high stakes golf match. So you're like nooner. I haven't heard that in so long.
It's a whole like radio sports talk thing I'd heard in the past, and it just came to me right now. But yeah, noon ESPN2, Metropolitans 92 versus G League Ignite, Wembanyama versus Scoot. Tune in, baby.
Nooner at ESPN2, not the Ocho. ESPN2. And again, you can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. Always a pleasure, my man. You join the show every Wednesday. Tomorrow should be fun. I know CJ Holmes is going to join me. The Warriors have a scrimmage. I might actually go out to that practice and see if I can get some footage for it. I'll post it on my Twitter account at Dog Surf Roadshow. I'm debating actually going to practice today, but I don't think I'm going to go to. And then Mark Jones, who's the voice of the Sacramento Kings, but more importantly, he calls national games for ESPN among many sports as a play-by-play broadcaster. He might join me as well. So I might have either 2 shows on Thursday or save one of them for Friday, but that's what's coming up the rest of the week. Anything you like to promote before we call it a wrap?
Nah, I'm good, man. Yeah,
right.
Thanks for having me on. It's always a blast.
Likewise, brother. Love you, man. We'll talk soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.